Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Castello Show. It is match week 22. We are coming off of maybe the most disappointing fantasy week of all time. We're going to get into that, but before we do, I want to cover some of the games from last week. The first one I want to talk about, Charlotte FC taking a trip to Cincinnati, the two Queen Cities battling it out, and who would have thought Charlotte FC 3-1? I mean, I specifically said take Celentano because Charlotte FC can't score. Then I followed that up with Ajamang's gone. They definitely can't score. And they won 3-1. And they had a goal disallowed. It could have been 4.
Yeah.
Cincinnati did too. Orejano had that goal that was disallowed.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have a ton of takeaways about this game. I mean, Acosta with... he had a goal that was sort of all right, we're losing, we gotta go now kind of goal. Great shot, too.
Yeah,
I mean, Kalina had no chance at it.
Yeah.
But honestly, Since he didn't have a lot of chances, I felt like Charlotte really shut them down in a way I was not expecting.
I think they're still leading. They're definitely still leading the East. I think they're still leading the Supporters' Shield because of how much they built up, and they played, I think, 2 more points than Columbus, but they have no shot.
No.
Columbus will be the one in the East. Columbus will win the Supporters' Shield most likely.
No, yeah, and Columbus isn't showing any signs of slowing down here. By the way, Cincinnati now losing Miles Robinson, so if you thought it was bad, it's about to get worse. I mean, they're in dire straits here. I did want to give a shout-out to Ashley Westwood. 3 assists in 1 match.
Yeah, we both played him.
We did play against him.
That was cool. Guy had 0 assists all season. Yeah. We both play him. And I was stoked. I was like, yes, I'm playing Ashley Westwood. Yeah. This is awesome. This is going to be great. And then he goes out and gets 3 assists.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just ridiculous.
I will say, was I not playing against Westwood, I would have watched this game a lot differently. Because I was scared of Westwood scoring points.
I was very unhappy with this game. Even though I'm wearing a Charlotte FC shirt right now.
Well,
because of what happened to my team here.
This leads into a bigger conversation about how fantasy makes it hard to be an individual team fan. Because you also want to be realistic. You don't want
any of them.
I try not to bring my fandom into the fantasy, and I feel like I was actively rooting for Charlotte to stop scoring goals. And then at one point I was like, why?
But when they had the lead, though, then I was like, all right, this is perfect. Stop scoring. At this point, they get the win, and I don't let up any more goals.
Yeah.
Great.
But 3-1, Cincinnati, probably looking to come back hard this week, so keep that in mind. Next game I wanted to bring up, Dallas, 2-0 over the LA Galaxy. Galaxy obviously coming out of the El Trafico loss. They need a win. This is not a good sign.
No, they look terrible.
They need something to change. I don't know what.
I don't either.
And honestly, I hate to say this because Ricky Puig is without a doubt the most talented player on that field. Maybe you need to sit him down. Maybe you just need to... And I don't think it's his fault.
No, maybe he needs a more defined role. Maybe you tell him, I need you to be an attacking player.
Right,
I need you to be an attacking player. Don't worry about the defense behind you. You let them handle it themselves. If we let up goals, that's not on you.
And I don't know anybody at LA, but I find it hard to believe that conversation hasn't happened already. I really do. I don't know. Now, I also think...
I watched Vanny's post-game.
Yeah.
And... he didn't really say much. It was really weird, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't... And hey, I'm not going to tell you in an interview what my plan is next game. You know what I mean?
Right. No, for sure.
But...
for a team that has that many talented players... you lose to LAFC, but LAFC is pretty stacked. That's not, some horrific loss. It happens, and they lost by 1. It was a good game. This can't happen.
You have to be able to score against Dallas.
And you have to not let up 2 goals against Dallas. You want to be a Supporters' Shield contender. I get you're in Dallas, clean sheet might be a little bit unreasonable, but you're losing 2-0. They were dominated. I never felt like the Galaxy were going to come back during that game. moving on from that, Portland 3-0 over RSL. I love Portland lately. I really do. And honestly, RSL feels a bit stumbly at the moment.
Yes, and now losing Arango. Gomez is on a yellow card suspension. I think a yellow card suspension, but he's out this game.
Yeah. Now he will be back this weekend, so.
They're pretty... Things seem to be going in the wrong direction for them.
Yeah. No, well, and if you're LAFC, great. I mean, this is what... I mean, now they can kind of take care of RSL without even worrying about it. But also, with RSL kind of falling off, this week, the Galaxy need to capitalize. Like, they need to go after it because RSL has no Arango and no Gomez. If there was ever a time to start picking up points on them, it's now. Like,
yeah, I think this is an important time for the Galaxy, too, because they are playing Portland head-to-head.
Yep.
And Portland is catching everybody, man. I mean, I really think the two best teams in the West right now, not by their records right now, are LAFC and Portland. I
agree. And when RSL get Arango and Gomez back, who knows that I still feel that way.
Right.
But until that day, I honestly think Portland is the best team in the West today.
And the Galaxy, LA, we're talking about both LAs, so I don't want to make it confusing. The Galaxy also playing Colorado this week, who's another team that's climbing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a huge week for the Galaxy.
Yeah.
As a team, not fantasy-wise, as a team, this is a huge week for them.
And it's a big week. Here, they need to get that El Trafico taste out of their mouths, and 2-1 to Dallas just isn't going to do it. Like,
well, and these teams that are creeping up on them and could be passing them, they need to shut it down.
Yeah. No, because if they do lose the lead, the confidence hit that will come with that will stop them from gaining back up, I think. Like, the Galaxy needs to keep that spot. And then the last big game I want to talk about, Columbus going to LAFC 5-1, an absolute smackdown over LAFC. It was funny because we said Cucho maybe wasn't the play this week, and he actually wasn't. He had one goal that was pretty ridiculous.
Right.
But really, Ramirez was the play this week.
Yeah, Ramirez and Rossi keep scoring.
And it's funny because Cucho's so good that I forget Diego Rossi and Christian Ramirez are even on that team. Right. Sometimes, like that, Christian Ramirez is not a star when I think of, but if he was at any other club in the league, I think he would be. Christian Ramirez is that good.
Take him on Charlotte.
Yeah, no, 100%. Diego Rossi I'd take in a heartbeat. Like, I don't understand why, but I really, something about Cucho makes him, like, the other players live in a shadow.
You know what else, too, though, with Cucho? I would still play him over those other players because there's just a consistency. I could see Rossi or Ramirez going and doing nothing in a given game. They're very hot lately, but we've had there's so many guys this season. They've gotten hot, then they've cooled off.
Well, it's very soccer, too. I mean, you have runs of
and a lot of sports.
Yeah,
I
basketball.
mean, look at baseball.
Baseball.
I mean, baseball's huge for it. But Cucho doesn't.
No.
He never has a bad game. So, I mean, his floor is just so much better than everybody else's. Yeah. So he's still my guy on that team, fantasy-wise.
For sure. So let's get into last week's fantasy. Like I said, disappointing week. I'm going to start out with my team. 63 points total. Now, I did win my head-to-head. I played against Rick, who I really had to beat because I've already lost to him once this year. And he has Barreal in his starting lineup. So I was not about to take a second loss to him. Just barely eked it out. So we're gonna start from the back line. I had Celentano in. He played in the first game. So when that started going horribly wrong, I was like, you know what? Let's make a switch here. And I ended up going with Berkey. Celentano finished with 2 points. So I was like, thank God I got Berkey and we got another shot at this. And then Berkey finished with 1 point. Then across the back, Kai Wagner, Miles Robinson, and Mickey Yamane were the three that were going to play. Kai Wagner being the best of those with 4 points. Miles Robinson with 1 point. Now, -1 point.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so you need to read that again.
Miles Robinson with -1 point.
That's
now,
not just a little speck on your screen.
Yeah. Dude, so I was, excited when I found out that Miles Robinson was leaving after that game. Because we knew he was going to the Olympics. We knew he was leaving that day. So we just assumed he won't play against Charlotte. And when we found out that he was going to be playing, I think I was driving when I got the text. I switched him right then and there into the lineup. I could not have made a worse decision. I should have just let it go. And I not that I think it has anything to do with him being on the way out. I think it just was a shitty game.
Yeah.
But it was...
And that red card was ridiculous.
No, I don't understand it.
There was no point in making that foul. You were already down by 2 goals.
It was
There
stupid.
was less than 10 minutes left in the game. It was just dumb.
Well, and I don't understand...
And you knew it was an immediate red. You knew... He knew, reaching his arm out,
yeah,
I'm going to get a red card here. It was...
No, well, and here's the thing. I get being frustrated. I get all that. He's still got to serve this suspension when he gets back.
I think he's actually serving it this game.
Is he?
And then he's leaving after. Here's what's funny. He has to be around to serve the suspension.
Right.
So he can't... You can go, well, a red card didn't matter because he's leaving for France. He wasn't going to play the next game anyway. You have to actually be here. He can't leave for France.
Well, so what I was thinking was he had already left for France. I didn't know he was staying.
No, I think he's staying to serve it and then go.
That's what they should do, because otherwise what happens is he comes back from France, he's got to sit a whole nother game.
Well, you know what I was thinking too, though? When he comes back from France, I got to imagine for this team, he's going to play
every minute
of every game. So,
maybe
when he comes back, he might not be playing anyway, because he could have just played 2 or 3 games that week.
Right.
He might be sitting anyway, but, I mean, if they're doing their due diligence, they should be looking at the calendar. Now, Cincinnati probably is just, dude, I don't care about the Olympic team. You're going to serve this before you go.
Yeah.
But in reality, getting the most out of him with both teams, you should look at the Olympic calendar, look at the Cincinnati calendar, and kind of figure out what's likely going to happen.
I got to be honest with you. I am, as a spectator, who the Olympics are for, I don't care about the Olympics.
No, I don't care even a little
There's no way that FC Cincinnati is happy about him leaving. If I was in the MLS and someone told me, who's a key, not even key member of my back line, only member of my back line, everybody else is in the hospital in Cincinnati. Yeah. I would be like, no, you can't go play in the Olympics. Are you fucking high? You're not going to Paris to play in a tournament that doesn't mean anything to anyone in the sport. But you're not an ice skater.
So
we have a World Cup.
So do you know the whole thing with FIFA and the Olympics and
that it has to be U23?
Well, it has to be U23 except for 3 players. But as far as clubs giving permission to their players to go play. So when it comes to, actual FIFA tournaments, like Copa America, like the Euro that just happened, the clubs, because it's a FIFA-sanctioned event, the clubs have to let their players play.
Right.
The Olympics is not a FIFA-sanctioned event, so it's up to the clubs. And that's why if you look, most of the European teams, they don't let their players play.
I wouldn't.
They don't want them to get hurt. They don't,
I don't know what we're risking it for. I understand soccer is a world sport, so you want it in the Olympics, yada, yada, yada. There's already a World Cup. We already crown a world champion. This isn't a sport where you need that. Skateboarding, I get why they wanted it in the Olympics. That didn't exist in a global scale. The only tournaments were in the U.S. So if you're a kid from Brazil who's awesome, but you're never going to be able to make it to Los Angeles, you're just never going to be seen. Right. Soccer's not like that. We don't need it in the Olympics. And honestly, no one I know who watches the Olympics heavy watches soccer. And no one I know who watches soccer heavy really gives a fuck about soccer in the Olympics. I don't understand why it's in there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
MLS does let their players
go.
Yes, that's kind of just the kind.
Do you know why? Because it's a U23 tournament. So if the U.S. was ever going to have a fucking shot at winning anything, it's in the Olympics.
Well, I just think that the MLS is but it's not just the American players.
Anyone can go.
I think the MLS is trying to use it as a platform to make their players known a little more.
Right.
They become MLS viewers as well.
Well,
MLS
and
fans.
I also, here's the thing, every other league is on a break right now. They're not. Like, if anything, the MLS should be one of the leagues that is like, no, we don't want
Right,
this.
we have real games.
Yeah,
the MLS doesn't seem to care about real games.
No,
I mean, clearly, since they don't have international windows and...
Well, and I think part of that is because you have a playoffs, right? So, like, the Community Shield, yeah, it matters, but it's not as big as the MLS Cup. If you could only win one of the two.
Supporter Shield.
Supporter Shield, not Community Shield. Community Shield
That's
is...
England, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the FA Cup winner versus the Premier League winner. But the Supporter Shield is not... That's not the best trophy.
No, and teams say they care about it. I mean, yes, it's hardware sitting in your building, but they don't really care
To be honest with you, I think it's way harder to win that than the MLS Cup.
Is.
The MLS Cup is the NBA playoffs. It's still harder to be first in the country.
Well, any of them.
Right, yeah, I don't know why I picked NBA.
Yeah.
But any playoff is a harder... Like, once you get into the playoffs, everyone has a shot now. Now, like, the NHL, there's a few teams that you're like, they definitely don't have a shot. Basketball, you feel that way, too. There's usually one or two, like, maybe 4 teams where you're like, these are the real contenders. In the MLS, I feel like there's 6 to 8 teams that could win the Cup.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I don't feel that way about the Shield. Because Miami can get hot and stay hot all season. Columbus can get hot and stay hot all season. But, like, Cincinnati absolutely can be the best team through a tournament. I don't think they're going to hold the Supporter Shield. They have too many games like this.
If they didn't have all those injuries, I think they could.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, you look at a team like Portland. I think Portland has the ability to make an MLS Cup run.
Oh, yeah.
Portland has no business winning the Supporter Shield, though.
No.
I mean, you just have a lot of teams like that where it's like, I don't think the MLS prioritizes the regular season because the MLS views the regular season as seeding.
Yes.
Rather than the game. Like, in England, that's the goal, is to win the league.
Right. And a lot of countries, it's just...
Other than
it's
Scotland.
kind of silly to devalue your regular season so much.
Well, and it's what made the U.S. Open Cup so cool before they fucking ruined it, was you still had a true domestic tournament.
Yeah.
Now the MLS Cup acts as your domestic tournament, and
It's
you
the
have
only
to
one.
qualify to get into it. It's all silly. But anyway, back to my lineup from last week.
You're on defense.
I am on defense. Mickey Umane was the last player. He shit the bed. He had 3 points. It was fine.
That's not
He caught a bonus
shitting the
point.
bed. Yeah, I mean, for a defender.
Yeah. I mean, next to Miles Robinson, it was great.
Yes.
So through the midfield, Evander was my captain. He is the only player that did anything at all.
Thank God we both captained Evander.
32
because
points.
what
is
our
my captain.
scores could have been.
Then Santi Rodriguez and Daniel Gazdag were the 2 on the field. Santi with 4, Gazdag with 2. Cole Bassett and Espinoza on the bench. Cole Bassett with 3, Espinoza with 2. Then up top, we had Arango, Benteke, and Jordan Morris on the bench. Arango with 3, Benteke and Jordan Morris each with 6. I'm happy with Benteke and Jordan Morris. Benteke, I thought, should get more than that, but Jordan Morris was on my bench. I wasn't expecting 7 points. I would have been thrilled. I picked Jordan Morris on the off chance he scored a goal. I didn't think he was definitely going to.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't see a 1-0 game where Jordan Morris is the only goal scorer. Now, with that said, I still, honestly, even though it didn't work out points-wise, I don't think you can start Jordan Morris over Christian Arango. I just don't. That's a crazy play. Like, had I done that, it shouldn't have worked out for me. You know, it's like when someone... it's like when you call with 10-3 pre-flop, and then flop 10-10-3, and it's like, you suck.
Yeah.
That was the wrong decision, and you got paid out. That's how I would have felt if I started Jordan Morris over Arango. That would have been wrong, even though it was right.
Yeah.
Overall, 63 points, won my head-to-head. I did drop, not too far, actually. I'm 980 overall right now, so still in the top 1,000. As far as Charlotte FC goes, still holding 17th place, even though my week rank was 51st within Charlotte. Honestly, all in all, we got through it. That's the goal when you have a week like this. You're going to have at least 1 week every year where you put up like a fucking 50, and you just got to eat that and hope it doesn't hurt too much. So if this is the one, I'll take
Well,
this.
and you know what? Everybody did poorly this week, so you didn't drop that many points in reality.
Right. Well, and
a lot of people got in the 60s and 70s.
This was a hard matchup.
Yeah, if you got in the 70s this week, it wasn't a bad week.
Yeah.
At 63, you're 10 to 15
well,
behind
it's funny
that.
because I remember at the beginning of the season, we kept saying 70's a good score now. 80 is...
With the way defenders and
right,
keepers
we changed everything. Like, last year, the goal was 100 or better. You wanted triple digits.
But
now...
your Costas, Evanders, Pujas,
They just-
Belangas, Cuchos, they've gone crazy when Messi and Suarez had 20-something point weeks.
Yeah. So
You know
that
what I mean?
made us believe that triple digits was the new benchmark, but I truly don't think it is. If no one has a hat trick, it's kind of not that easy to break 100. Like, you have to have someone...
There are guys in the midfield and at forward that can really rack up bonus points now, though.
Yeah,
Especially if they get a bunch of key passes.
Yeah.
I've
No,
seen
the
guys
key
get
passes,
16 key passes. That's 4 points just on that alone.
Yep.
Then they got over 100 passes. And that was another 3 points. And that's 7 right there.
One of those key passes is going to be an assist, probably, if they had 16 of them. So there's another 3 on top of your 4.
Yeah, plus the 2 for playing, and all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
double digits, and they,
Yeah.
all on bonus points. So
John, how was your week?
awful.
Good.
So I said going into the week, I don't like this week. I'm not really confident.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to do better than this, though. I had a 59.
I beat you.
You did.
I
beat
never
me.
beat you.
Yeah, no, it was terrible, and I lost my head-to-head to Matt. He got a 74. So I was in first place for 1 week, and now dropped back out of it again, which is super cool. It was the first week that I lost money all season.
Yeah.
I lost $3.6 million.
That's a hit.
Yeah. It still doesn't matter, but
Right.
it's the first week I've lost in 20 weeks.
Yeah.
I made money every week. I lost money this week. So, in Charlotte, I was 72nd overall for the week. And I was picking up. I went from 11th to 10th to 9th to 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Now I dropped back to 10th. So I'm still in the top 10, but I took a hit. For the overall, I was 2730 for the week, which dropped me. I'd gotten into the top 400 as a 380. Now I'm back out of it at 404. So they weren't huge drops because, like I said, I don't think anyone set the week on fire, but it was still disappointing. So I had Celentano and Berkey just like you.
Yeah.
I had Wagner and Robinson just like you. But my other defender was Brooks Lennon. He had 2.
Yeah.
My midfield, the 3 on the field, were Gazdag, Bassett, and Evander. Gazdag had 2. Bassett, you had said, had 3. Evander, 16. Thank God I captained him. My next best score after him was 6, was Benteke.
Wow.
So, it was totally the best.
Yeah.
I would have been in the 40s if he wasn't my captain.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was literally, without him, the entire week is in shambles.
Oh, my God. Arango and Benteke were on the field for me, 3 and 6, like you said. Surge was on my bench with 1 point.
Love that.
So, didn't use that. Used Pooj.
Did he have a yellow, or did he come out?
-1.
That's got to be a yellow, then.
There's a few other things it can be, but it's probably a yellow. -1, yep, yellow. So that's super cool. Pooj and Espinoza, I did use on the bench. Pooj had 5. Espinoza had 2. I mean, I look at these numbers, and it is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
1, 4, -1, 2, 2, 3, 32, 3, 6, 2, 5, 2, 1. That is bananas. So, awful week. It is what it is. I'm throwing it out. I feel a lot better about this week. I have things that I'm debating, but I feel good about more guys.
Yeah.
That I don't. So that was that week. It was super duper.
So let's get into next week. We got a double game week. John, you want to go through the teams, and then we'll start talking about individual players?
Yeah. So, I won't get into the stats on the teams. I'll just tell you the teams I like, and then as I'm talking about players, I'll get into those. But attacking-wise, I like Houston, Kansas City, LA Galaxy, Miami, Minnesota, and Philly. Mm-hmm. There's a few other teams I don't hate. Seattle, Vancouver, and Columbus.
Gotcha.
Then defensively, Dallas, who nobody else really seems to like them. I think Dallas is a great pick defensively this week, actually. They're my favorite. Mm-hmm. Miami, New England, Orlando, and Philly. And then I don't hate Columbus or Seattle. So those are the teams, and you'll see a lot of that in my picks. And I'll talk about some of the stats when I'm going over the picks.
Gotcha. All right, so going through my team, and we have pretty similar teams this week. Couple things that I originally had different, but then I was wrong after looking at more numbers. So I've got Pais, which I hope is how you say that.
I think it's just Pas.
Pas. What a dumb name. Martin.
He's Dutch.
Martin with 2 A's.
He's Dutch.
And then Pas. They're the worst with the spelling. It's bananas. Like, the Dutch are very nice people. Every time I've met someone who's Dutch, they were great. They don't speak any language. It's crazy.
Actually, most of them speak English.
Well, thank God.
It's too bad that we don't have sound bites and stuff. It'd be a perfect time for, who's the one in, the Dutch guy in Austin Powers?
Goldmember,
yeah. Be a great time for some Goldmember.
That will be after the Leagues Cup break, because we're not going to do episodes through Leagues Cup because it's stupid. But we will figure out a soundboard in the meantime, because that would rule. But Pas in the net. Then I've got Stephen Fry as my backup. Stephen, whatever. Stephen Fry is my backup goalie. I mean, Pas is going in, honestly. I don't see him not playing.
Well, and with the double game week, sometimes you're not sure because, he got 3 or 4, and you go, no, that's pretty good. Now, the other guy's going, well, what if he doesn't get that, and you still have another game? It's not like, even at the 2, he still might do better in the second game. Fry might get... Double game week, keeperoo, I don't always do... If I like this guy better, I stick with the 1.
Right.
But for me, too, Fry is the maybe if Pas goes out and gets a red or something. Yeah. Something crazy.
Then through the back line, I've got Kai Wagner, Jordi Alba, and Mo Farsi. Kind of chalky, honestly. I like all of their matchups this week, and to be honest, I didn't love a lot of defenders, so those were the 3 that I felt comfortable with. And Jordi Alba, Farsi, and Kai Wagner are always attacking threats, too, which was a big part of the decision here. Then I've got Tolkien and Barreal. Obviously, they're not playing. They're wiped.
Right there, your scrubs.
So through the midfield, I got Ricky Puig captained right now, with the belief that if the Galaxy are ever going to fix this, it has to be now. They are in dire straits. They need wins, and this is the week to do it. They got Colorado and Portland. They're at home both games. These are winnable games, and they're statement games, too. Colorado and Portland are both creeping up on them. They need to stop that. So, if there was ever a time for Ricky Puig to get after it, it's this week. And I do, even though I don't always believe in tactically what they do with him, I 100% believe in his work ethic and willingness to win.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I don't think anyone would disagree with that either.
No. He's a gamer.
The harshest critique of Ricky Puig still isn't.
Well, he's not getting points because he's going back and playing defense.
Right. But
who doesn't like that?
Anyone who thinks, Ricky Puig isn't what he's supposed to be, no one thinks that he's not showing up for these 2 games. You're going to get...
He may not show up for the second game because he is 1 yellow card away from a suspension.
That's true.
So...
now, I am hoping he behaves himself in Colorado because of that. And honestly, if you're Ricky Puig, you need to behave yourself in Colorado.
No
because
kidding.
These are 2 games you have to win. Then I got Ryan Gauld. I like Ryan Gauld. I mean, we always have, but even though we don't play him a lot, he's one of those guys that's always like on the periphery of my lineup and then kind of doesn't make it. But Kansas City, that's always a good matchup. And then Houston, they give up goals. He's at home both games. I like that. Acosta, first match against Chicago, I don't see Acosta not scoring a goal, truly. They're in Cincinnati. Even, I mean, he had one against Charlotte.
He's questionable.
Yeah.
But I think he'll play. But you definitely need to look at that lineup.
But honestly, he scored at home against Charlotte, and Chicago is a considerably worse defense, especially on the road. So I like Acosta in this match as long as he plays. Even if he doesn't play, I also like him against the Red Bulls on the road.
And he's also one yellow card away, by the way, too.
Gotcha. And then through the bench, I've got Lode. Haven't played him in a while. Honestly, I kind of wanted Oluwaseyi, but then I thought, you know what, Lode will probably have the assist on it, and I don't know.
A double game week.
I don't know
Longwani.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yes.
Minnesota's too hard to predict.
No, yeah, they move guys around. Pookie, they move guys around so much. And I liked him too, and because of how much they move guys around, I didn't like him in a double game week.
Yeah.
But I love their matchup. But I think Ludd will play both games.
Well, and what I
so
do
he's
like
my
is
Minnesota guy.
Ludd just got a bunch of weapons back.
Yes.
That's big. He's not.
He was lighting the world on fire.
Yeah.
It was. He completely replaced Reynoso. Like, everyone's like, who's Reynoso? Oh, he's gone? We don't care.
Yeah.
Don't come back to America. We're good.
Yeah.
Like, Minnesota was like, bye.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Reynoso was prolific last season. He was the centerpiece of the team. So to be able to step in like that, I mean, he's the guy. Now he's got some weapons back, and two pretty easy matchups, DC and San Jose. DC, I really don't know what to expect out of them. I could see DC beating Minnesota. San Jose, I do not see that. But I think both games are going to be goal fests either way. So I like Lode there. Then I got Lewis Morgan. Honestly, I have always liked Lewis Morgan, and with no Forsberg right now, it just means everything has to go through him. So I do like that.
If they score, they just haven't been scoring that much lately.
Yeah, now they're playing Montreal, who, I mean, if you're ever going to score against anybody, it's Montreal. Every game they have is like 4-3.
Yeah.
And then Cincinnati, who knows what happens in that game, but it's Cincy on the road. Cincy...
And their defense looks pretty bad.
Wobedeau
back will help, I think.
Yeah, but then they lose Miles Robinson for Saturday,
right.
So it's kind of a
they
trade-off.
lose him more than that.
Well, they lose him Wednesday. He's serving his suspension.
And then he's going to France.
Then up top, Brian White and Cucho are the two starting. I gotta say, Brian White, I just stared at that name for a while before I clicked on it. Everything in my heart believes in Brian White, and yet I'm still scared.
I am too.
He's just not consistent. But everything points to him. I love his two matchups. I think Brian White is good enough to score against both those teams. I think he gets the service to score against both those teams. Like, he will have chances. And also, my favorite goal this season was Brian White's little scorpion kick flick thing. Like, he's fantastic, and I really don't play him a lot. But I figure if there's ever a week to start Brian White, it is this one. Like, the stars have aligned for this to be a good week for him. Then I've got Cucho. I'll take Cucho playing anybody, anywhere, anytime. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Especially if I don't have any strikers I'm really confident in. Cucho goes in just so I feel better about it. Because my third striker is Luis Suarez, who, when he's awesome, is awesome.
Insane.
And sometimes he just doesn't show up to the game at all. So I don't know what...
And he doesn't play every game.
I don't know
but
what...
I did look, he has been playing both in the double game weeks when he's in America. You know what I mean?
So he is back now. The team has
Messi's
had him
out
a little.
for both of these games.
That's
so
big.
That probably pushes them to need to play Suarez too.
Right. And what I do think is good, because honestly, Miami won a lot of games without Suarez and Messi.
Yeah.
I don't know that Miami will be feeling, oh, we need Suarez back, as much as Suarez will be feeling, I gotta go score some fucking
No,
goals.
no, Miami does because they have not really been scoring, especially with attacking players.
Yeah.
No, Kramaski's gone,
They
too.
are eking out wins.
Yeah,
They're
he's gone for the Olympics. The last game, they scored 1 goal, and that was the Ukrainian defender. It wasn't even an attacking player.
True.
Like, they're not... They need Suarez back.
Yeah, and I think he wants to be back, too. I think everything with Uruguay and Colombia ended kind of with a shitty taste in his mouth. I think he wants to reset now. He's back in Miami. Let's go. That's my lineup. Actually, quite an expensive group. I've only got 1.7 million sitting on the bench, and
well, don't forget you have Barreal and Tolkien.
Yeah, no, my 2 DNPs weren't 4 million guys.
Yeah.
What I always do for my DNPs is I go to any status and then I just switch it to unavailable and I take 2 guys off that list.
Yeah. Now Barreal, we know he's not even in the league,
right?
And Tolkien, we know he's gone, but sometimes don't always trust that.
Yeah, no, do your research if you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
John, what about you? Who you got this week?
So just a few quick things. We didn't really talk about who doesn't have a double game.
Oh, yes.
Everyone except, there's literally 1 team not playing Wednesday because there's an odd number of teams and 1 team not playing Saturday. So DC is playing on Wednesday, Portland's playing on Saturday. And those are your only 2 teams that don't have a double game week.
Right.
Okay, which is why I don't have a Vander this week.
And I will say,
I always have a Vander otherwise.
Keep this in mind when we get to next week, because DC has some extra rest, some extra time to prepare, all that stuff.
I like to take...
It's like having the Thursday and then the next Sunday.
So my scrubs are actually Portland players. They play in the very last game of the week. So you can go all the way up until then and go, oh, I might need to make a switch for some whatever reason, and then I do.
Right.
Hey, my whole bench sucked. I'd actually rather try and get a defender in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have Portland guys. It just gives me time to push that back. And then when I get to that game, yes, I want scrubs. I look at the lineup. These guys are scrubs. With Portland, you have to be careful. Their defenders, they play all their defenders. Yeah. There isn't a guy that hasn't played all season.
No, yeah.
So, another thing that I wanted to quickly run down was disciplinary.
Yep.
Quite a few red cards. Guys that matter.
Yeah.
Heinz Ike, if you're taking Austin, he's one of the guys you'll take.
Yeah.
Miles Robinson, we talked about. LAFC, Murillo and Palencia.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like Larice as their keeperoo, and I don't know now. Now it gets a little iffy.
Yeah.
Although RSL has a bunch of missing players too. Who knows what this game's going to be? Busquets, because he had 2 games. One was the yellow card, one was the red card. Sands on New York City. Arango suspended 4 games for the anti-harassment policy violation, which I don't even know.
I would like more details on what happened.
Andres Gomez that we talked about. So those are your Reds. Here's the guys that are 1 away from a suspension for yellow cards. So this is important. They might not play both.
Wow, a lot of Cincy. Jesus.
Yeah. Driussi and Gallagher. Again, if you're thinking Austin, Gallagher. Cincinnati. Acosta, Kelsey, Kubo, and Orejano. Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and you better hope Orejano and Acosta don't get the yellow in the same game because they're ruined.
Musa. Musa's been really hot lately. Puig. Busquets. I don't know if that's right because he just served the yellow, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Boxall is on this, but he's away right now for the Olympics anyway, so...
Doesn't matter.
That won't matter. Will Trapp as well. Lassiter. Santi. That's someone you were thinking about?
Yeah.
Santi's another one. That's 1 away. Isla from Red Bull. Especially if you like Red Bull defense, and now Tolkien's away.
Yeah.
Isla might be a guy, or one of the Nealis brothers. He's 1 away, so I would go towards one of the Nealis brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
If I'm looking for that defense. Enely. He's a perennial favorite. Bernadeschi and Insigne.
Yeah.
So, as well as Longstaff and Petretta. So,
4 big ones.
Wow, Toronto. And then Brian White. So some guys in your lineup, sometimes if you have so much confidence, you want to put him in your lineup, especially you want Puig as your captain, he's got to be in your lineup. Some of these guys, though, put them on your bench. Right. Even if they do great, you can still use them, especially if you're doing a switcheroo type option. If they get suspended after the one, then maybe you just wind up not using them. Right. Although, if you look at Evander a few weeks ago, that one game, he still got like 14 or 15 points.
Right.
And still was one of the best guys of the week.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If that first game they blow up, you're still fine.
Yeah.
You know.
So those were things that I thought was important before I got into my lineup.
Yeah.
So for me, defensively, let me pull up. I'm sorry about this. I want to pull up my notes so I can tell you actually why. So keepers, it's pause for me. Austin, worst scoring team in the MLS on the road this season. 0.45 goals per game.
Eek.
New England, worst scoring team at home in the MLS this season at 1 goal per game. So they're facing the worst scoring home team and the worst scoring away team.
Yeah.
I don't know how you don't like that. So he's my guy, and that's it. I have Blake next. If you're just looking at other potential keepers, he's finally back, and their matchups with New England and Nashville are really good. Calendar and Fry are other guys I considered. So Fry is a potential keeperoo if something really bad happens with Paz, but I'm not going to do a keeperoo most likely.
Right.
Defenders, I got Wagner as a definite start for me. He's the best fantasy defender on the year. If you just look at total points, who's the guy in LA you've liked all season? Not Yamani. Yoshida. He actually has 1 more point, but he's also played 1 or 2 more games. So in reality, it's Wagner. New England tied for 6th worst in the league scoring on the road. Nashville tied for 2nd. Then when you look at his attacking ability, Revolution tied for 4th worst in the league in road defense. And Nashville is also allowing almost 2 goals per game. So it's Wagner. He's in your lineup, period. Yeah. Right now, I have Gressel. I'm a little worried about him. His production's been great. 6.5 fantasy points per week in the last 6 weeks. For a defender, that's amazing. But he's been great with Suarez and Messi and all them gone. Suarez is back. I still think without Messi, he's still going to have a very attacking role. Yeah. Just a little worried, but I still think he's a start.
Well, and what I will say about Gressel is Gressel's figured out how to get points off of those corner kicks he takes. And as long as he takes the corners, putting Suarez in the box is not making me scared. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
More people in the box is better for Gressel.
He's a double home. And his matchups are great. And then both those teams are allowing 2 goals per game away from home. For a defender that plays a 7.
Yeah.
So I also have Alba for the same defensive reasons and honestly the same attacking reasons. And I'm thinking about Tafari. I always do 3.
Yeah.
What I'm currently doing is Alba's on my bench. If they get the shutout, he gets goals, whatever, I'll probably drop Tafari, put a scrub in.
Yeah.
But for the same reasons I like Paz, I like Tafari.
Yeah.
So I also considered Farsi like you did. So in the midfield, Gauld, double-digit fantasy points, 6 of his last 10 appearances.
Yeah.
I like him for the same reasons you like White. He's just more consistent. White scares me.
Well, and I have both of them. I'm banking on a big Vancouver week this week.
Double home, like you said, and SKC, they hemorrhage goals.
Yeah.
So I have Ludd. He's in my starting lineup. He's not on my bench. They're getting St. Clair and Oluwaseyi back. Like, they're getting the band back together.
Yeah.
I love Ludd, and I love his matchups. He was racking up goals and assists before he went to play for the Finnish national team. since he's come back, things have kind of
slowed down a little.
Yes. But he had 5 goals and 8 assists in 14 appearances. I mean, that's almost a goal contribution per game. But they've had injuries. They've had guys missing. The band's back together. I think this is where he comes back.
Yeah.
With DC and San Jose, oh my God.
Yeah.
I love him. So, right now, Puig is on my bench. He's actually my 3rd favorite. But he's on my bench because I'm a little worried about the yellow card.
Makes sense.
Lewis Morgan, he leads the Red Bulls in goals. He has 10 goals. The next guy has 6.
Wow.
He leads in shots. He leads in shots on target. He's 2nd in assists and 4th in key passes.
Yeah, that's nice.
So he's the guy. And with Montreal and Cincy, Montreal's allowed 2.5 goals per game on the road this season. That's the 3rd worst in the MLS.
Yeah.
So, and then Cincy, we've just seen, I mean, all those injuries. Now, Robinson gone too. I think this could be a huge week for Morgan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on my other midfielder yet. I'm debating Tommy. I liked him last week. I didn't play him. I regretted it. But he's got St. Louis and Vancouver, and those are really good matchups. St. Louis allows 2.7 games, 7 goals per game on the road. It's the 2nd worst in the league. But I'm also debating Rusnak. His last 3 starts, he scored 15, 13, and 14 fantasy points.
Yeah.
He's been on fire, and they've got great matchups. So those are the guys that I'm thinking about. Up top, right now, I've got Cucho and Ferreira on the field and Peck on my bench. And Cucho's my captain. Cucho's staying, and he's probably going to stay as my captain. His floor makes me more comfortable with him as my captain.
Yeah, I get that.
And he's got a huge ceiling, too. So, but if you go out and you pick another captain that could have a huge ceiling and he gets nothing, it can kill you.
Yeah.
I'm also debating Suarez. I like his matchups. You've talked about why you like him, so he might eke out Peck. But Peck averaging 8.5 fantasy points over his last 10 games.
Yeah, that's not nothing.
With last week being only a 3. It was over 9 before that. So this is my forwards are very difficult for me. I know Cucho. I'm thinking Peck, Ferreira, maybe Suarez, maybe even White. Here's my dig on White. Last 4 games, he's averaging over 11 fantasy points. Great.
Yeah.
His previous 9 games, before those 4, he averaged 2.33.
Eek.
I mean, he could go cold at any time. And that's a much longer period. 9 games in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm scared of White. And I got Galled in and just, hey, let's hope all those points go to Galled.
Right.
So those are the guys I like. Again, still debating some of them. You know, right out of Ferreira, I really am probably going to put Suarez in for him, which kind of stinks. Last week, I liked him. He had 9 or 10. I didn't start him.
Yeah.
I mean, I should have been in the 70s if you look at Tommy and Ferreira.
Right.
Huge difference. Upper 70s. So that's who I like. My current lineup this week.
Yeah.
And as lineups come out, we'll put it on Instagram. And you know, that could make some changes. You don't know, they might not even start Suarez.
Right.
And obviously he's coming out and one less decision to make.
And then, so to close it out, I don't have a ton of bets, but specifically for Wednesday night, I got a parlay I like, and I'll post Saturday bets as well, since we're not going to have an episode between now and then. But if you were going to bet tonight, I like, first bet is actually a parlay, which I usually don't do. But these both feel like pretty sure things, and they're really bad odds, so to group them together helps. Cincinnati at home playing the Fire is minus 150. The Red Bulls at home playing Montreal is minus 210. Together, they are plus 146.
What was the second one?
Red Bulls are minus 210 at home.
I'm a little scared of that Cincinnati one. Chicago scores goals.
Yes, I don't think Cincinnati will lose 2 games like this in a row. They should have beaten Charlotte. I don't think Lucho will tolerate a letdown here. I think if they start to lose this game, he'll kill Kubo on the field and figure out how to win.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not going to accept losing to Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And the Red Bulls are actually the far worse odds, according to the book. But plus 146 if you bet them together. I would feel pretty confident in that, especially for positive money. I think that's a good one.
I like Miami better than Cincinnati.
I do like Miami as well. They're minus 135, which honestly, I would bet that individually. I don't think there's a need to
Yeah, I like Miami, especially with Suarez.
Minus
back.
135 is not terrible odds for me. In general, my rule of thumb, if it's 150 or less, I'm looking for a parlay now.
Red Bull should run up the score on Montreal. The thing that scares me about Red Bull, they have like 5 draws in their last 6 games.
Yes. Now, I will say, I can't imagine there's going to be much of a deadlock on scoring between Red Bull and Montreal.
A lot of people love Red Bull defense this week. So if that's true, and Morgan blows up like we think he could, they could win 4-0.
Moving down the list, Minnesota United minus 110. They're getting all their weapons back. It's a DC team that I've never really...
In Minnesota.
Yeah, I think they're set up to destroy DC this week. And then the Sounders... So the Sounders are minus 200 at home, which is not great. The over, though, is 2.5. That's the line that's been set by the book. It's minus 165 if you take the over. I definitely like it at 2.5, and I would consider looking at 3.5. If we hold on, I gotta get to.
I like 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5 I love, but it's minus 160. But honestly, you could also bet individually the Sounders to score 3 goals would be 155, or over 2.5 rather, not specifically 3. Or if you were gonna bet, where is total goals? There it is. So over 3.5 is plus 150. Minus 3.5 is minus 210. I
feel comfortable laying 165 on the plus 2.5.
I would live on the minus
St. Louis
165.
allows 2.7 goals per game on the road. I think Rusnak could blow
that
up.
That right there, though, is why I think you could go to 3.5. Because if Rusnak blows up, that could be 3 goals for Seattle right there.
But they could shut him out.
They could.
You have Fry as your keeper.
Oh, yeah. So, minus 165 if you want to play
Klaus
it safe.
is still hurt.
And if you want to take a chance... You have the minus 150, 3.5 over. I wouldn't bet it, but it is there. That's not a dumb bet. It's just the bigger risk.
What's LAFC?
LAFC just to win?
Yeah, minus what?
Let's see. LAFC to win. I gotta go to all games for this.
Sorry.
You're good. Minus 225. That ain't worth it. Real Salt Lake plus 5.
Without Aranga and...
No, yeah. Well, and
Gomez.
I promise you, that's when that line moved, is when Arango was...
yeah, the 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge turn of events.
Yeah.
Real Salt Lake is plus 500. The draw is plus 400, so no one even thinks this will be close. The over is 3.5, and that is at minus 115. And the under is minus 120, so there's really no way to make any money on that game.
Yeah.
I do like the Union at home. That was my next game, plus 115, playing Nashville. They're at home. Nashville's not some killer side. I know the Union have a worse record than Nashville.
You're looking at Saturday here?
This is, the 20th. So we're talking Saturday now. I like that one. Now, again, I'm going to post the Saturday bets. That's not what I'm definitely going to do.
Yeah, no Zimmerman.
So there's stuff to like about that game. And then, as far as... There was one more game on Saturday I liked right now. Oh, Charlotte. On the road in Austin this Saturday. Plus 240. I think that's crazy to label Charlotte as such a...
Plus 240,
That is a heavy underdog. And Austin's plus 105. I mean, it's not like they're hardcore expected to win.
Well, because there's a lot in the draw, probably.
Yeah, but plus 250 on the draw. But plus 250 on the draw, plus 250 win away. I mean, you could bet both, and you're going to make money either way. I mean, you could bet Charlotte to win or draw. So I really like Charlotte in that game. Those are the only Saturdays I'm locked in on right now, but there could be more on Instagram coming soon. That's all I got. John, anything else you want to say?
Always check your lineups.
Check your lineups.
Good
That's
luck.
the show, guys.